This is going to be a marathon masterclass. Everything I've learned in running 12 marathons. First of all, I'm going to give you 20 quick tips just to get you in the marathon mood. Then we're going to look at marathon morning. What should you be doing in the hours leading up to the big moment? Then, when things get difficult in your marathon, what are the things you can do to make sure you're mentally strong to get you through to the end? And then we're going to look at the question I get asked the most. How do you avoid hitting the wall? So if you're ready, sit back, grab yourself a coffee and enjoy. So when you register for your marathon, when you sign up, make sure you have a why. Why are you running this marathon? What for? Is it a personal reason or a personal goal or for health reasons? Make sure you tap into that why, because you'll probably need it during your marathon training and during the marathon itself. And also when you sign up and during your training, visualize the race. What's it going to feel like at the start line? In the middle of the marathon, at the finishing line. Visualization is a really good motivating factor. It can really help you overcome those difficult runs or those times where you don't want to go out and do your training run. So visualize what's it going to feel like to finish that marathon. Respect the marathon distance. 26.2 miles is a long way to run. Even if you've ran a marathon before, respect the distance. Each marathon is different. Each marathon has its own surprises. So treat it with respect. Train properly. Get to that marathon start line confident, but aware that the marathon takes no prisoners. And don't forget, when you sign up for the marathon, tell people. Accountability really helps. And you never know, you might actually inspire somebody else to sign up for one. There will be tough days. It's inevitable in marathon training. There will be days where you think your run hasn't gone as well as you'd like. Don't worry about it. Move on to the next run. Think about your next run. It's all part of the process. Trust your training. Trust the process. When you start marathon training, you can look at the number of weeks and feel quite daunted by it all. The number of weeks, the number of runs, the length of that long run, but trust the process. As the weeks tick by, you'll get stronger, fitter. And don't forget, you don't have to crush every run. Just be consistent. Long runs are non-negotiable. They are a staple of marathon training, and they're there for a reason. They're getting time on your feet. And not only that, it's getting you mentally strong to tackle the distance. So if you've got a long run, try your best to do it, because in the long run, it will benefit you. Most runs should feel easy. It's all about building endurance and not ego. So leave your speed work to the days when that's in your plan. Most of your runs should be done at a really conversational pace. But do add in some speed work. It builds confidence. It gets you ready for maybe the marathon pace. So when your training plan says do some speed work, do it, and do it as fast as you can. Do it as hard as you can, and you'll get better and better as the weeks progress. So those first few speed workouts will feel tough, almost impossible. But if you stick at it, in a month, you'll be a lot stronger. Most good marathon runners listen to their body, not just during the marathon itself, but in training. So if you feel tired, exhausted, and fatigued, change your plan, change your run. And if you're injured, stop. It's better to lose a couple of weeks of training while you recover than miss many more weeks if you keep on staying injured. Oh, the infamous taper. The 2 to 3 weeks out from a marathon where you're meant to reduce your running volume and distance, but maybe keep the intensity. Stick to the taper. You want to arrive at that marathon start line with a fresh pair of legs and a fresh, focused mind. Ignore the taper crazes, the phantom injuries. That's all just your body's way of getting you ready for the marathon. In some of your runs, it's a good idea to run to feel rather than pace. So maybe ignore your watch or ditch your watch completely. Get to know what running comfortably feels like. Get to know what running hard feels like. Because on marathon day, during the marathon, sometimes pace goes out the window. So you're gonna have to learn to run by feel. Train in your race day kit a few times. So your shoes, your shorts, your shirt, even your hat. Make sure you practice in it. And don't be tempted in wearing that brand new shiny running t-shirt you bought at the expo. You don't want any surprises on marathon day. You don't want any blisters at the halfway point because you've not worn your running shoes in. So make sure you practice a few times in the full race gear that you plan to run a marathon in. Practice, practice, practice. Fueling. So on your long runs, make sure you start to practice with the fuel that you plan to take on marathon day. So whether that's energy gels, carb drinks, chews, or other types of fuel, make sure you practice with these on your long runs. That's what they're there for. They're not only teaching your legs to run far, it's teaching your body to use the fuel you're putting in it. So make sure you practice. I've done a whole video on this recently, but you don't want to hit the wall at mile 20. So make sure you dial in on your nutrition before and during the marathon. So do your carb loading 2 or 3 days before. Make sure you get the right amount of carbs in your body. Make sure the days leading up to the marathon, you hydrate well. So drink lots of water. Sometimes I can drink up to 2, maybe 3 litres of water before marathon day. So make sure you're well hydrated before you arrive at that start line. And during the marathon, at every aid station, make sure you take a couple of sips of the water that's on offer. And also drink electrolytes. Even if where you're training, or even if on marathon day it's not particularly hot, you want to replace the sweat, the sodium. So electrolytes are really, really good. They can help with cramp. Get to the start line early, well in advance. You don't want to get there with minutes to spare before the marathon starts, like I've done in a couple of races. Give yourself plenty of time, plan out your route. How are you going to get there? How difficult is it going to be to get there? Is there going to be any traffic that you're going to encounter? It's better to arrive there early, nice and relaxed. Don't also forget your safety pins to attach your bib number to your shirt. There's nothing worse than scrambling around in the morning trying to look for safety pins. Make sure you check both the weather and the course route. The weather can have a massive impact on your marathon. It may be too hot, it may be too cold, too windy or rainy. So make sure you're prepared. Check the weather and take a good look at that course route as well. Is there any elevation? Are there any tight corners? Are there any hills? Prepare yourself, both physically and mentally, for what's to come.
You've done all your training and the big day has arrived, the morning of the marathon. What should you be doing in the hours leading up to that big moment when you cross that start line?
So 4 hours out from the big moment, the moment that you've been training for. So I typically wake about 4 hours before the marathon starts. And one of the first things that I do is I reach for a big glass of water. So I consume about 500 milliliters of water as soon as I wake up. I like to stay as hydrated as I possibly can on marathon race day. So drink some water, maybe some electrolytes, and I continuously sip on water until I get to the start line. And if you're anything like me and tens of thousands of other marathon runners, you may have had a restless night's sleep. Don't worry about it. Every single marathon that I've completed, I've barely had any sleep the night before. Adrenaline, excitement will see you through. 3 hours before, that's when I usually have my marathon breakfast. And my go-to breakfast on marathon morning is usually a banana, some porridge, a bagel, and a big mug of coffee. I really do need that caffeine kick. Don't try anything new, especially your breakfast. Don't be tempted by that delicious looking breakfast buffet offered by your hotel, especially if you've not eaten it before. Stick to foods that you know. Stick to foods that you've practiced in.
in your training. Don't try anything new, especially when it comes to food on marathon race day itself. I usually eat around about 120 grams of carbs. Don't overdo it. You want to start the marathon fresh, ready, raring to go. Not bloated, not heavy, not completely full. 3 hours is usually enough for that food to digest, but give you enough energy at the start to start as strong as you possibly can. 2 hours before, this is when I usually put on my race gear. And I would have my race gear all laid out on the bed next to me. And you may have seen it on social media, the flat lay. This is where marathon runners take a photo of all of the gear, all of the kit that they're going to be wearing during the marathon. And this is not just to flex their social media ego, it's to have a visual checklist to make sure they've got everything in place for the morning of the marathon. So take a flat lay photo the night before, lay out your kit next to your bed so it's there at hand first thing in the morning. Make sure you've got everything, your running gear, your shoes, your bib, your safety pin, your headphones, your cap, your sunglasses, your energy gels, your carb drinks. Do it the night before, set it up next to your bed so you don't have to worry about that first thing in the morning. So put on your bib before you get to the marathon start line. The amount of runners that I see scrambling around looking for safety pins, putting their bib on upside down, do it before you leave your house or your hotel. It just makes everything so much easier and calmer. Also check the weather. Look out the window. What is the weather doing? Not only for the marathon itself, but for the hours leading up to it. Check the weather apps. Do you need to put on some warm clothes? Because you may be at the start area an hour or two before the start of the marathon. You want to stay warm. So on the morning of my last marathon in Thailand, I looked out the window first thing in the morning and it was absolutely chucking it down with rain. So I was really close to taking an umbrella to the marathon start line. But luckily for me, the rain stopped. Dress appropriately. Is it too hot? Is it too cold? What do you need to bring? Double check your bag that you're gonna drop off in the bag drop facility if your marathon allows it. Put in everything that you will think you'll need for after the marathon. So that could be food, liquids, a change of clothes, a nice new pair of comfy shoes, or a pair of flip-flops. So 1.5 hours out, this is typically when I travel to the marathon. Obviously, it will depend on where you're located and where your marathon is. I always stay in a hotel the night before a marathon that's no more than 20 minutes away from the start area. A lot of marathon runners prefer to stay in a hotel nearer to the finishing line than the start line. It's entirely up to you. But I just don't like the hassle of traveling too long on the morning of the marathon. I don't mind walking like a zombie, traveling like a zombie back to my hotel. But set off early, set off way in advance and plan ahead. How are you getting to the start area? If you're using public transport, check out the time, buy your tickets in advance, know exactly where you're getting on and off of that public transport. Many major marathons allow you to travel for free on public transport if you show them the bib, so check that out. If you're getting a taxi, book it in advance. You don't want to wake up on marathon morning to realise your taxi is not going to turn up. And if you're driving there yourself, do you know where to park? How far away is the parking from the marathon start area? Bear in mind, marathons bring road closures, congestions. You don't want to get there the last minute because you've been stuck in a traffic jam. I've been there, I've done that myself, and it's quite stressful. You're not quite sure whether you're going to make it on time or not. Wherever you get dropped off, whether it's a taxi, whether it's a train, whether you drive there yourself, there may be a 10-15 minute walk to actually get to the marathon start area. So bear that in mind when you plan your travel route. So I like to arrive at the marathon start area about an hour beforehand. I like to get there stress-free with plenty of time before that marathon starts. I like to check out the start area, mingle with the other marathon runners. I like to see where my corral is, where the bag drop facility is. I also need to know where that Portaloo is. Make sure you go to the loo more than once. Major marathons bring massive queues at Portaloos. What I tend to do is I go to the loo and then I rejoin the queue and go in again. If you're wearing extra clothes, either put them in your bag for your bag drop, or some marathons allow you to throw them away at the start area. They collect them all at the end and give them to charity. So an hour before, I also like to sip on electrolytes right up until the marathon starts itself. So 45 minutes out from your victory lap. This is where I usually do some dynamic stretches. So 5-10 minutes of stretches that you've done before in your training. So don't try and introduce some new stretches that you've never attempted. Don't do static stretches, do dynamic stretches. Get the movement of running. And also, if you can, do a 5-minute jog. I just want to get everything warmed up, raring to go. So 10 minutes before, this is where it gets exciting. The adrenaline, the excitement, you'll feel it in the atmosphere. This is typically where I like to take in energy, some more carbs. So I usually have an energy gel or maybe a banana. So I know that's going to give me about 22 grams of carbs, just topping up that glycogen level just before the start. And don't forget, carbs don't really turn into any form of fuel until about 20 minutes. So I know if I take an energy gel 10 minutes before the start, 10 minutes into the marathon, I know my glycogen levels will be topped up slightly. Start to think about, why are you doing this marathon? Who is it for? What is it for? Remember your mantras, those sentences, those phrases that you're going to repeat when you're running the marathon, especially when it gets difficult. Remind yourself of what they are. Stay positive. Think of all the training you've done to get to this point. Hopefully injury-free, healthy and fit at the start line. Think of all of those months of training, all of those long runs, those hard speed workout sessions. Be positive and don't overthink the marathon distance. When I'm at a start line of a marathon, I'm not thinking of 42 kilometers or 26.2 miles. I'm just thinking of the first 10 kilometers. It's just easier to manage, so don't overthink the distance. Tie your shoelaces. Make sure your shoelaces are tied properly. Double, triple knot them if you can. There's nothing worse than reaching the halfway point to look down, to realize your shoelaces are undone. You have to bend over, tie them up, and then struggle to get back going again. So make sure your shoelaces are tied. 5 minutes to go. You're nearly there now. The nerves may be kicking in, but now is the moment to really soak in the atmosphere. Look at the supporters, thank the volunteers, appreciate the other marathon runners that you're going to run the marathon distance with. Plan and visualize how you want the marathon to go. Visualize the finishing line, receiving your medal, seeing your friends and family cheering and celebrating once you complete the marathon. Get your GPS started on your watch about 5 minutes before that gun goes off. Lots of marathon runners do it a minute or two before. And if you're running in a big city, it can take a few minutes for GPS to kick in. Similarly, if you're wearing earphones and you want to connect them to your phone or your watch, lots of people are doing the same at the start line. So 1 minute before, all you can do is take a deep breath and start your marathon and put all of that training that you've done into action.
Marathons are tough, there's no question about that. In every single one of my marathons, I've hit a tough moment. So what are the things we can do to make sure we're not only physically strong, but mentally strong to get to the finish line?
During your marathon, your mind will want to quit way before your body does. Your mind is being overly protective. It will send signals to your body and your muscles to slow down or to quit. And the reason why it's doing that, it doesn't want you to get anywhere near your maximum limit. The thing is, your brain sends these signals to your muscles far too early, nowhere near your maximum limit. So when that voice in your head during your marathon starts to question whether you should quit, there are things that we can do just to quieten those voices. So in the hours before the marathon, what I like to do, I sit down and I look at all of my training, both the good and bad runs. So when my mind starts to doubt whether I can do this marathon, I reconfirm that I can because I put in all of the training. I have arrived at the start line having done 16, maybe 18 weeks worth of training. And even the bad runs during the training, I use those as fuel. I remember how I felt during those bad, hard runs, how I reacted, how I came back stronger for the next run. I'm trying to convince my mind that even though things may not have gone according to plan, I got through that. I continued, I pushed on. I'm ready. I'm here at the start line, ready to tackle the marathon. Start to talk positively. So when your mind starts to question things, reply to it by saying, I am ready. I am going to be a marathon runner. I can do this. I am prepared. I will finish. I will get that medal. Turn negative mind into positive self-talk. Make the marathon smaller. So when your mind starts to say, are you able to run 42.2 kilometers? Break the marathon down. Lie to your mind. Tell your mind that you're going to be running 4 times 10 kilometers, or maybe 8 times 5 kilometers, 10 miles, 10 miles, 6 miles. Or maybe convince your mind you're just going to run to the next aid station. Chunking the marathon down into smaller distances just makes it easier for your mind to compute what lies ahead. So when I stand at the start of the marathon, all I'm thinking is, I'm going to be running 10K. And when I get to the end of that 10K, I just run another 10K. In my training, and I'm sure you have too, you've smashed out loads of 10Ks. You can run a 10K. Convince your mind that you'll be able to run a 10K. Once you finish that one, do another 10K. When your mind starts to ponder, starts to worry about what may lie ahead, visualize how you want the race to be, how you want to start the marathon, how you want the crowd and the volunteers to be on the course. Imagine the scenery. Imagine going through all of those sights. Imagine what it's going to be like when you cross that finishing line. You've got your medal, you're proud, you're celebrating with your friends and your family. Visualize all of the good things that you want to happen during the marathon. And at the same time, be mindful, be aware of any obstacles that you may encounter. So visualize these too. And even though we can't list down all of the obstacles that we may face, it's good to have 1 or 2 in your mind ready. So you have a solution, you have a plan, you have a strategy, you know what to do when you hit those obstacles. It's better to have a plan beforehand than acting and reacting when that moment of toughness appears. During the marathon, your mind will start to play tricks. It will start to suggest that it's getting tough. We need to slow down, we need to quit, we need just to forget about this marathon. Distract it. There are so many good distraction techniques you can deploy when you're running your marathon and your mind says you shouldn't be running the marathon. Running mantras. These are phrases or words that you repeat continuously when things are getting tough. This too shall pass is one that I use. So when things are getting difficult, I repeat that phrase again and again. And it just diverts the attention. I can do this. 1 more mile. Just another step. Find a mantra. Repeat it continuously when those moments of doubt appear in your mind. Make sure you have a strong why and purpose. Why are you running this marathon? Who are you doing it for? What are you doing it for? Is it a personal health goal you're chasing? Is it a time goal that you're after? Maybe you're running for charity, or you want to run with your friends or explore a new city. Make sure you have a strong why and purpose and remind yourself of this. When those tough moments appear in the marathon, it really does help when you ground yourself into those whys. Why are you doing this? Run the mile you're in. Don't let your mind wander too far ahead. It will try and think of what's coming. Think of the mile you're in. Think of the steps you're running right now. Don't worry about what's happened before and don't worry about what's to come, because we just don't know what is going to happen. Our mind will try and start to ponder and wonder and think about all the things that could be happening next. 1 step at a time, 1 mile at a time. Be mindful, be really present. Counting steps. Paula Radcliffe, one of the best marathon runners ever, used to count to 100 when things got tough. I like to do a body check when my mind starts to ask whether I should continue. I check my feet, my legs, my body. Is everything fine? Is everything working? Are there no pains? And if there isn't, I just tell my mind, everything's fine. What are you worrying about? I'm okay. Focus on something else. Maybe chase down another runner in the distance. Maybe go for that landmark in the distance, a tree, a lamppost. Get to that point. Focus on getting to that point. Divert the attention away from how tough it may be feeling. And smile. Eliud Kipchoge, one of the greatest marathoners of all time, is known to smile when things are getting tough in the marathon. This is letting the world know that he is struggling, but he uses a smile which is proven to lessen pain, discomfort and stress. So smile. I know people who laugh out loud during a marathon when it's getting difficult. It helps. It's just letting your mind know that, hey, actually, I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm actually enjoying this. There's nothing wrong. And when your mind is screaming at you, saying it's in discomfort, just respond by saying, okay. It sounds really easy, but it's actually really tricky to do when you're in the pain cave and you're really uncomfortable. To respond like that is really tricky. But actually saying to your mind, I'm okay. So, I'm used to this, I've trained for this, I've been in much harder conditions. It just really helps the mind just settle. Everything's fine. And you just gotta embrace it, literally tune into it. Yes, there's a little bit of discomfort. Yes, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But you've been there before in your training, on your long runs. You would have experienced that type of struggle. Just tell your mind, okay, I accept it, here we are, and use it as fuel. You've been there before and you'll get through it this time. Say to yourself, this is the moment that everybody told me about, the tough bit. Here it is, it's right now, it's happening. I've got this, I know what to do. Don't be surprised when it happens, expect it, because it will come. That moment of discomfort will come in the marathon. But telling your mind that you're ready, you're prepared, you know what to do. Literally dig into that discomfort and use it to get through it.
How do you hit the wall? How do you prevent bonking? How do you make sure your glycogen stores are topped up? It's a question I get asked all the time.
If there's one word you'll hear again and again when it comes to hitting the wall in the marathon, that is glycogen. So glycogen is the stored form of glucose, a source of energy. And basically it's derived from consuming carbohydrates. And it's stored in the liver and the muscles. And at any one point in time, we have enough glycogen to do around about 90 to 120 minutes of high intense exercise, like running a marathon. So when you hit the wall in a marathon, your body is depleted of glycogen and your body will start to search for another fuel source. It will switch to burning body fat into energy. And there's lots of energy in body fat. However, it's less accessible, it's less efficient, and it takes a long time to turn into energy. So that's why you can be running along in a marathon and all of a sudden you stop in your tracks. Your body has been depleted of glycogen. You've got no more energy left to keep moving forward. And your brain relies on glycogen too. So often when you hit the wall, you will feel confused, dizzy, nauseous, disorientated. So now we know what hitting the wall is and what's going on in our bodies. The thing is, with hitting the wall in the marathon, it doesn't have to happen. It's not inevitable. Even if you're a new or beginner runner who's thinking about running a marathon or training for a marathon, just because it's your first marathon doesn't mean you're going to hit the wall. There are things we can do to prevent it from happening. The first one, and I'd say probably the most important and probably the most obvious, is fueling. If we know that our glycogen stores, our main energy source, is going to run out after around about 2 hours of running, we need to make sure that we start that marathon with a full glycogen tank. And we can do that in a couple of ways. The first is carb loading. So 2 or 3 days before the marathon, you need to consume lots of carbs. So this can be anywhere between 7 to maybe 12 grams of carbs per kilogram in body weight. So that could mean anywhere between 500 to maybe 800 grams of carbs 2 or 3 days out from the marathon. We're not saying eat only carbs. On your plate of food, just make sure you consume more carbs than you normally would. You want to lessen the amount of protein and fat that you consume. So things like rice, pasta, white bread, pizza, bagels, pretzels, high carb sports drinks, fruit juices, orange juice is really good to top up the glucose levels. Now, if that's all we did, if the only thing we did in terms of fueling was carb loading, we'd still probably run out after 2 hours. So we'd probably hit the halfway mark and we'd hit the wall. So we need to make sure that we constantly fuel during the marathon. So every 30 minutes or so, make sure you're consuming around about 30 grams of carbohydrates. And you can do this by consuming energy gels, sports drinks, or energy chews. And it's something that you need to train for. When you do your long runs, make sure you train by using the energy gels or other sources of energy that you're going to use in the marathon. You need to start the marathon at a correct pace. So in my first marathon, in the Abu Dhabi marathon, I was excited, I'd done all my training, I was at the start line, and I got carried away. I went way too quick. And guess what? By about 25 kilometers, I hit the wall. That was because my glycogen levels were depleted quicker because I was running faster. So it's so important to conserve your energy, conserve your glycogen stores for as long as you can. So make sure you start the marathon slower than you should, slower than your watch is telling you. So in lots of marathons, I see lots of marathon runners absolutely dart off at the start. And sometimes I cross them later down the route, and they are obviously in trouble. They've hit the wall. Their glycogen levels have been depleted. Make sure you pace yourself conservatively. You want enough energy as far down the marathon route as you can. Long runs, obviously we all know that long runs are a staple for marathons. So in your training, make sure you do your long runs. And I would say in your long runs, the majority should be done at very easy pace. But there is actually benefit to introducing some marathon pace sections or finishing some of your long runs faster. So this just obviously gets you used to running at marathon pace. It gets your legs and your body ready for the sort of paces you want to attempt during your marathon. But what it does as well, it gives your body a chance to train and adapt to burn energy more efficiently. We're not saying hit the wall in every long run. That's not what we want to do. But you want to give your body a chance to work out what it does with that glycogen. How quickly should it use it? What's coming next? Your body will know that you're training for a marathon. And over a course of weeks, your body will adjust how it consumes that glycogen. Training your gut as well. So in a marathon, you could be consuming 6, 7, 8 gels. So you want to make sure that your body is able to handle that amount of carbohydrates in your system. And you can do this obviously on your long runs. You're not only training your body for the distance, you're training your gut. Can your gut handle that amount of carbs that is needed for the marathon? Practice in your training. Make sure the gels that you're taking sit comfortably, and your body will get used to it. It will adapt to the sources of energy that you're taking it if you practice again and again in your long runs. So if you hit the wall, if you hit that moment of despair, don't worry. There are still things that you can do to get your marathon back. Your pace would have probably slowed down, so stop if you need to. Make sure you take in some carbohydrates as quickly as you can. And don't forget, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes for those carbs to turn into energy, which will get you moving again. And what I've seen a lot of runners who have hit the wall do is, in panic, and they think they're doing the right thing, they consume so much carbohydrates, thinking that that energy will all of a sudden get them to run faster. Sometimes it can, but what can happen is when you hit the wall, your body is in survival mode. So all the blood is rushing to all your vital organs, it's rushing to your legs. So if you consume so many gels in quick succession, they can just sit on your stomach, and that can cause all sorts of problems, and you don't want that. Talk to other runners on the course. Run, walk. There's nothing wrong with walking in a marathon. The aim is to get you to that finishing line. Maybe adjust your marathon finishing time. There is a way out when you hit the wall. It is really difficult to do because sometimes it can come on all of a sudden. So taking carbs, but don't overdo it.
If you've enjoyed that video, don't forget to click on that subscribe button. Give it a like, give me a comment down below. When is your next marathon? How's your training been? Has it gone well? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Have you got any goals? Are they time-based or you just want to finish? Let me know down below in the comments. I reply to every single one of them. My name is Paul. This is Running the Sun. I'll see you in the next one.